We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
Hello, Mavs fans. Welcome to Pod Maverick After Dark. I'm Kirk Henderson, editor-in-chief over at Mavs Moneyball, joined, as almost always, by Josh Bowe, who is the co-editor with me over at Mavs Moneyball as well, and the co-host of this podcast. Josh, how you doing?
Doing pretty good. Glad that we avoided any potential Mavericks fans meltdowns. Mavericks get a good
right. We can head into the weekend with a meltdown if they get shellacked by Boston on Friday. But this was great. This was great.
This was needed. I think if they would have lost this game, you would have had to talk some people off the ledge afterward. But don't have to do that. Don't have to do that tonight.
Yep. So happy birthday to our 25-year-old MVP in the making, Luka Doncic, who posted a hilarious 30 points, 16 assists, 11 rebounds. He has 30 assists in the past two games to the total of and matches that with a mere 6 turnovers, 5 of which came in this game. Josh, what were you doing at 25?
I was living in a studio efficiency apartment trying to try to afford a new car because I got rear-ended on the highway. So I think that was around when that happened. And my truck got totaled. So I was I was a very productive member of society back then.
I vaguely remember my 25th birthday. My wife and I had been gotten married the previous September. We've been together she had tricked she had tricked me and had a bunch of my friends fly into DC, which was like a big, 25, you don't have any money. Everybody's still trying to figure out how to pay off your student loans. So I remember that weekend. That was pretty fun. But what I wasn't doing was heading towards my 5th straight all NBA team at 25.
Yeah, definitely not.
I mean, what a great game. The thing about this game, why it was important to me, and look, you can tell me that the Raptors suck because
the Raptors do suck.
They do suck. But
yeah, no.
Well, they're feisty, but they're missing the special sauce to go from a mediocre to a good team.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's really nice to see the Mavericks come out and get this win. It was a really fascinating first quarter because Luka, as is his wont on his birthdays, came out looking like he had no desire to play basketball. And the PJ Washington carried the Mavericks early. Kyrie Irving helped carry the Mavericks early. And they just sort of hung around, right? The second quarter is a little bit of a blur for me because my child was being difficult. What happened in the second quarter?
Turnovers. I mean, that's really the only reason this game was close in the second quarter, or really the first quarter. Mavericks had 10 turnovers total as a team in the first half. And for a team that's usually around 12 or 13 for a game, that's a lot. Toronto didn't particularly shoot well in the first half. I think they shot under 45% from the floor in the first half, but they got so many runouts in transition and secondary break opportunities that it didn't really matter what the Mavericks were doing in half-court defense, because they were not playing in half-court defense because they kept coughing up the ball and giving Toronto extra possessions. So
Luka gave up one where Scotty Barnes just came and took it from behind. Mm-hmm. And it was so uncharacteristic like Luka, because Luka just has, he has 360-degree vision. The man sees everything. And so that was when I was like, God, is this just going to be one of those kind of slogs of a game? And so the fact that the Mavericks went into halftime, pretty sure they're down.
They're down one.
They're down one. Was felt pretty pleasing. Then on the flip side, giving up 67 points to the Toronto Raptors felt actively bad.
Yeah. And again, it was, Toronto they finished this game with, I think, 23 points off turnovers, although I might be reading the stat wrong. So yeah, it was really, that was it. Mavericks had 6 turnovers in the second half and basically ran the Raptors off the floor in the second half. So, Mavericks outscored the Raptors 70-58.
Yeah.
I think in the second half. So yeah, it wasn't very close once the Mavericks they took care of business. They did what they needed to do. The Raptors, like you said, are feisty, but they're not great. Mm-hmm. I think the Mavericks, a sight for sore eyes, was playing against a defense that likes to drop and blitz. Because with Jakob Poeltl, while he's a pretty good big man, he is not super, super mobile. And he was mostly playing drop, or they were doubling. And the Mavericks haven't seen a lot of that the last couple of games because
Luka looked confused. He's like, "Wait, there's 2 people. This hasn't happened in a week."
Yeah. So lo and behold, the ball moves a little bit more, and you had guys other than Luka and Kyrie do stuff. PJ had his best game as a Mav. Tim Hardaway got some open threes finally. Daniel Gafford was really good in the pick and roll. Both Gafford and Lively had really good scoring games. They were combined 10 of 11 from the field. And then, those lobs were not there in the last couple games because teams were just like, we're going to switch and let Luka and Kyrie outscore us. Well, Luka and Kyrie kind of outscored them, and they played a defense that let the role players kind of get free, and the role players made their shots to their credit. Well, basically everyone that played did something positive to impact.
That's a really important point. So when the Mavericks lose, one of the things that I see in all the comments and then on the Twitter is a lot of people bitching about Luka and Kyrie not working together. And beyond me just wanting to utter shut the fuck up to every person that says that, it's look at the other guys. When Luka and Kyrie score 75 and 59 in consecutive games, you should do better than 1-1, quite candidly, because that's a preposterous, how many points does that put together? It's 134 over a 2-game stretch from 2 guys.
Yeah, I think so.
And it's you can't ask for more for either of them. Someone else has to step up, which was just, it's lovely seeing PJ Washington confidently step into corner threes. I need a sports science explanation of how the hell he misses corner threes so badly when he steps into these. Because if you haven't shot a basketball in a while, guys, go shoot a corner three and then go shoot a wing three and tell me what's easier. I just physically don't understand this. However, He was awesome. And he was awesome in a really functional way. And just patience, lots of things going. And what the Mavericks need night in and night out is if you expect a certain level of play from Luka, 22 made field goals between the 2 guys for 43 field goal attempts. Neither one was particularly great on threes. They combined for 14 free throws, 17 assists, 6 turnovers, and 12 rebounds between the 2 of them. All you really need, not to really overly simplify this, but you need one more guy a game to do something. Just something.
Yeah.
And tonight they had PJ. They had a little bit of a Tim flash. It was very, I tweeted out, Tim Hardaway's having a great game, and then he shot off the side of the backboard.
He made more threes tonight than he's made in the last 3 games combined. So that was a welcome sight. He hasn't made 4 or more 3-pointers since February 8th. So that's a pretty long time for a guy that shoots as many threes as he does. So that was welcome sight for sure.
Then you had a Daniel Gafford sighting. First,
Yep.
fans were quite reasonably, even though we explained why, fans were reasonably frustrated in the Daniel Gafford not playing last night. Man plays 24 minutes tonight, 25 minutes, gets 13 points and 7 rebounds. He did have 4 turnovers, which is something we got to be a little about, but delightful to see him bounce back a little bit and get some more shine. Realistically, the way Gafford needs to play is he just needs to be more cognizant in space. He needs to challenge shots harder. He needs to run back on defense the same way he leaks out on offense. And I think it's not that he'll be fine, but because he's still, again,
there are going to be some matchups where he just can't play.
That's fine. But if you can mitigate the things that you're bad at with effort, I think Jason Kidd will be more willing to play him. I mean, getting beat back on defense is simply a cardinal basketball sin, and these Mavericks collectively suck at it. And when we come back from a short break here, I want to talk about one of the reasons that I think they were a little bit better in transition defense and get your take on it. All right, guys, it's been about 10 minutes into the show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you have the ability to go hit the like on the stream, I would very much appreciate that, as would Josh. While you're down there, go ahead and hit subscribe. There's got to be a way to get notified of when we go live. Whenever I set these shows up, there's an additional thing where one person of our 2,500 subscribers somehow is already waiting. And I think that has to do with the bell notification. But if you have that ability to join us every time, we would really love to have you. If you're listening on an audio stream, please leave us a review, share with your friends. Please shoot me an email if that's something, you got a basketball thing you want to talk about. I tend to answer every email. I am a true sicko. Thank you so much for supporting the show. If you're watching the video stream a little bit later, go leave a comment. Love reading the comments after the fact, as well as the comments during the show. Those are always fun. Now we're going to take a short break for a audio insertion of ads.
We're driven by the search for better. But when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day, Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Just go to Indeed.com/Blue Wire right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Indeed.com/Blue Wire. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? You need Indeed.
This episode is brought to you by Pepsi Wild Cherry. Pepsi Wild Cherry is bursting with delicious cherry flavor and a sweet, crisp taste that gives you more to go wild for. Getting wild may look different these days, but whether it's opting for a solo Friday binge watch or a big night out, everyone can indulge in their wild side with Pepsi Wild Cherry. Also available in Zero Sugar. So grab a Pepsi Wild Cherry and get wild.
All right, thanks so much. What a big return tonight, Josh. What did you think of the return game from a long absence with knee bursitis with Dante Exum?
I thought he looked pretty good. 17 minutes. Didn't do a whole lot scoring wise. I mean, he only took one shot, made an open 3, got to the free throw line, made a free throw. The big thing though, 5 assists in 17 minutes, 0 turnovers. He had more assists tonight coming off the bench than I believe the Mavericks' entire bench had last night against the Cavaliers. Just the fact that they finally have a backup guard that they can trust, all due respect to the Jaden Hardy fan club. As long as Exum and THJ and Kyrie and Luka are healthy, I feel like Hardy is going to be the odd man out of the rotation guard-wise until further notice. But if that's going to happen, at least, Exum Like his ability to just make passes, like it's such a big deal, you know, and it allows Kyrie and Luka to get some minutes on the bench that maybe they couldn't get afforded.
Real minutes, not like stolen, hidden hope and, you know, stick your head between your legs and kiss your ass goodbye hope minutes. Like the real point guard stuff going on.
Yeah, and it lets Kyrie continue to play off ball more if he wants to. And as we've seen with Kyrie, he likes to play off ball. Like he generally likes to. And I know that sometimes it's a little frustrating for Mavs fans because he's not as aggressive.
But as if he's playing with a good passer.
Right. Right. So now you don't have to worry about those minutes where it's Kyrie without Luka and Kyrie's still deferring to like Tim or Josh Green or someone else. And the offense starts stalling out a little bit. Now Kyrie can play off Exum and play off Luka, whoever's in the game. And I think that just smooths things out for the full 48 minutes because Exum's a legitimate, like he's not a kind of point guard. Like he's a legitimate point guard. Like he might not be the flashy playmaker that Luka or even Kyrie can be, but he can most certainly run bench backup offense with Kyrie spotting up around him. And he found Kyrie I think Kyrie was responsible for a couple of his assists. So that was really good to see right away. First game back, basically like hasn't played in 2 months. Like he's missed 22 of the last 24 games. So just the fact that he was able to make it, was moving around fine, contributed positively to winning in this game. I think that's really all you can ask for. And then hopefully he just keeps ramping back up to see if you can get a little bit of that December Exum that we saw.
Which, if you get any sort of flash of that, and really my sort of expectations for Exum and really hopes for Exum is if you assume, I think we have 23 games left, maybe 24. If Exum can play 16 of those, I'm going to be really pleased. If Exum is able to play to give Kyrie the occasional night off, because Kyrie, after missing a lot of time, has been available, and it links directly to the Mavericks playing better basketball, because obviously he's, you know, top player on the team along with Luka. Like that, is kind of, you know, the takeaway there. But him, the ability to get a little rest heading in, the occasional rest heading into the stretch run could be very important. I don't expect him to go without missing more games, meaning Exum, just because this is his career. He's a minimum contract player. Knee bursitis is a funky injury. That said, I'm really happy with what we started with, because the defense, you know, is a shout out to Joe Biden in the chat, says the defense is still pretty bad. The defense is weird. The Mavericks didn't get out rebounded tonight, which is something that I'm actually more pleased with than anything else, because it feels like sometimes they just get rocked on the boards, and there was a lot of gang team rebounding tonight, which is something. There's just a lot of small positives that I am taking away from this game, and I don't know whether that's hopium or it's just it felt needed. You know, there's been a lot of talk as we head into the stretch run that the Mavericks can make this push for like a 5-4 seed. And like, I don't want to crap on anybody's dreams. It's just hard to win that much once you're already, you know, the Mavericks are 9 games over 500 now. The West is just monstrous.
Yeah, I think just about every team in the top 10 is 500 or better in their last 10 games. Mm-hmm. It's really hard. I mean, they won 7 in a row and moved up one spot in the standings when they won 7 in a row. So it's less to do about the Mavericks and more that this is just a really bear of a conference. It's not last year's Western Conference, which felt pretty weak past Denver. All these teams are really good. Like the top 10 teams are all pretty competitive, and they're all playing well. They're all hitting their stride. They're all getting healthier. Don't feel like any of these teams are in the top 10 of the West are dealing with any like crazy injuries right now. Like the Lakers are healthy. The Warriors got all their guys back. The top 4 have pretty much stayed healthy most of the season. So yeah, it'll be tough. I mean, I think it's, you just focus. If you standings watch, you might get a little batty, like watching the Mavericks win like 3 out of 4 and not go anywhere. So that might, if you want to preserve your sanity, maybe just focus on what the Mavericks are doing. Cause they did some good things, and I know their defense wasn't great overall. But I really do feel like a lot of it was the turnovers and and turnovers led to transition. Like Toronto had 20 fast break points, 23 points off turnovers. And even with all those Mavericks turnovers, they shot 47% from the field, 37 from 3. Like the Mavericks did okay when they got into the half court game. Toronto shot 20 of 32 at the rim, which 32 at the rim is a lot of attempts, but the percentage is actually pretty good. That's below league average, holding someone to 62% at the rim.
Right.
So, there was some good and bad. Like if the Mavericks weren't so sloppy with the ball, which, hey, second night of a back-to-back, there were tired legs for sure. Maybe this would have been a more dominant win from start to finish. But, I mean, double-digit win on the road against a team that, even though I don't think Toronto's that great, they had won 3 in a row coming into this game. So, you take it. You just got to stable. I mean, really, the objective of this game was just, it doesn't matter if they would have won in triple overtime. Like, you just have to win and put that Cleveland collapse as far in the rearview mirror as you can. Like, you just didn't want that to linger. And I thought the Mavericks did a good job at that in the second half.
Want to give a shout out to our friends. Hello, our friends at We Talk Mavs. I wonder if our man TGK Kid is in the chat too. Didn't see him earlier, but hello to some of our fellow podcasting friends out there in the YouTube and live chat space. There's a lot of people that do good work, hard work. It's not easy doing this, and it is fun though, or it can be fun. Last night wasn't very fun. So one thing I was looking at while you were talking about was point differential and sort of the space in the West. So you got the Clippers that are they've won 6 of their last 10. Suns have won 6 of their last 10. Pelicans have won 6 of their last 10. They lost tonight to the Indiana Pacers. The Kings are currently 5-5 of their last 10. They're currently losing to the Nuggets. And that seems like that game might, let's see here. Where is it?
I think that game might be over.
That game might be over. Yeah, they're down by the Nuggets are up by 18. But the NBA is a weird space. There's Lakers and Clippers just square off. So if you're a big like standings watch person, and I kind of recommend it, you're gonna lose your mind. Just so you're clear. Yep. You're gonna look back at some of the Mavericks losses and like curse some of the things that have happened to these Mavericks. It's just sort of the nature of things. But the point differential thing is a little bit interesting to me. So if you don't really know about point differential, over the course of the year, point differential is actually a historically valuable piece of data to let you know how good a team actually is. So, for example, if you were to sort the Western Conference by point differential and rank teams that way, Oklahoma City would be first with a plus 8.3, Minnesota 7.3, and then there's a dip. It goes Clippers, Pelicans, Nuggets, Suns that all are between 4.7 points and 3.0 points. The Warriors, hilariously enough, actually have a better point differential rating than the Mavericks, but their win streak the last several games is very fraudulent in my opinion, just because of kind of who they played. The Mavericks are a firm 8th in the West with a 1.3. The Kings are actually sitting there at 0.6. And the more games you play, kind of the better it ends up really like it is a dividing line is what I'll say. And so I'm very curious just to see how this sort of shakes out. I don't know what the Mavericks point differential has been since they made the trade, which would be more valuable to me than what they did during the regular season. Because if you're missing 20 games without Kyrie, you're missing a gajillion games without Dante Exum and Maxi Kleber. I just don't really know who this team is. Now, what's been very fun with regards to the Mavericks the last couple of weeks is that there seems to be a little bit of a curiosity factor involved in the teams. Like Stephen A. Smith went on a little bit of a tirade about how he's interested in the Mavs now because his colleague Tim Legler said so. Which is, I mean, it's annoying because you're like, okay, you just can't look at the information in front of you, Stephen A. Smith. But the fact that somebody influenced him enough to say that after he didn't put Luka Doncic on his all-NBA team last year is interesting to me. So I'm just the next several weeks are going to be very different with what's going on with relation to the Mavericks. They have a real chance to if they split these next 2 games, which are Boston and then Philadelphia, I think I will come out of that saying, okay, that's okay. The Mavericks still have more road games to play than home games. So they have to figure out a little bit of their road, not like struggles, but they need to start winning some more of those if they want to make a difference. But I'm kind of coming to terms and coming to peace with the fact that they're probably going to be playing adjacent for the rest of the regular season. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't think that's too much of a fiery take just because
Not criticism. It's just it's tough.
No, it's just the way it is. I mean, if they want to, I mean, they got 34 wins. I mean,
we got
what
38 last year?
Yeah, I know. I think like from 5th to 10th, they're separated by like 4 wins, something like that. So like that's, I mean, it's going to be the standings are going to change like almost every other game. So they can still get out of the play-in. I think, Phoenix and the Pelicans are pretty good. Phoenix.
The Suns need to start losing games. They're the ones with the supposed hard schedule that they keep not losing.
Yeah, that one's tough. But yeah, if you're looking at I know you kind of were wondering about point differential since the trade deadline. Well, last 2 weeks on cleaning the glass, this isn't necessarily point differential, but they're 9th in net rating in the last 4 games on cleaning the glass. 7th best offense during that stretch, 15th best defense, which feels about right. 2-2. It's basically the games since the All-Star break. That feels about right, and that's a bit higher than I think what they're doing right now on the season. I think their season long net rating is about 2, in the last 2 weeks it's 6.1. So yeah, they're playing. I mean, it's unquestionable they're playing better since the trade deadline. They're a better team. They have a better roster. I'm curious now because after the trade deadline, they had a little bit of a cupcake schedule in terms of playing some pretty easy teams. Like New York was missing everyone, Brooklyn's bad, Washington's bad, San Antonio's bad. I like seeing these games against like Oklahoma City at full strength, Phoenix, Indiana, Cleveland. Now they're going to play Boston. They're going to play Indiana, Miami. Again, they're going to play the Warriors. They're going to play a 3-game stretch of Warriors, Oklahoma City, and the Nuggets, all 3 in a row here in March. Like, I'm looking forward to the next like 2 to 3 weeks because they're going to finally be playing better teams consistently. After I feel like they kind of went through a 2 or 3 week stretch where they were just playing non-competitive teams for the most part. So that's when you learn the most. Like this win against Toronto is great and it's a stabilizing win. But I feel like we're going to learn a little bit more in the matchup against Boston and Indiana and Miami. Because those are teams that they need to measure up against.
I'm not sure we're going to learn much against Boston.
All right, Boston. Okay, I'll give you Boston. But Indiana, Miami, the Warriors, those will be like nice tests against teams that are kind of similar win percentage-wise. And we'll see how the Mavericks stack up. But, yeah, Boston's like in another stratosphere. So if they lose
they're really good,
if they lose that game by 25, there's like no shame.
Right. I mean, the only reason I like playing Boston is like Boston fans are just the best kind of sports sociopaths. Like
Lucas seems to get up for Boston too.
There was I got to go find it in my there was a guy who posted something yesterday. It was like 3 or 4 days ago, but it was like this chart of Jason Tatum versus Luka Doncic, which like it was just the dumbest thing I'd ever seen. Yeah, here it is. I'll just share it real quick with the groups, and then I'll read it out loud so the audio people can see what I'm talking about. But it made me laugh so hard. It was just so objectively dumb. Let's see here. It says, we all agree on this, right? Player comparison. Tatum is better at scoring, not as good at shooting, not as good at playmaking, but then better at rebounding, individual defense, I don't know what the hell that is. Longevity, peak, and playoffs. And like, I appreciate a good insane take. I have them all the time. But Luka is the lead. Like he has scored more points per game every single game every single season that he's been in the league in comparison to Tatum. He is the league leader in scoring. So to have Tatum as a better scorer is insane. I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's that. I mean, where did that come from? That came from.
It's Celtics just like a random Celtics fan.
Yeah,
like, this is the shit. There are so many like fan accounts, and I love it because it's a good old like it's basketball based nastiness. It's like one of the things I always hated when like the Warriors played the Cavs is like all of a sudden it would become like a class discussion. Where people from the Midwest and the West Coast would fight each other. And I'm like, no, I just get to hate the Celtics because I kind of still don't like Kristaps Porzingis. And I think Jason Tatum has no left hand. And not Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown. It's just like, I love not liking them for basketball reasons. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, you got to have your villains in sports. It makes it. Yeah.
I mean, and they have a
What else
point.
you do?
They have a plus 10 point differential.
Oh, they're so
They're
good.
destroying
They're
teams.
wiping the floor with everyone this season. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know what the Mavericks are going to do in that game, but it'll be 3rd and 4 nights, 4th and 6th nights, last game of a road trip, 4-game road trip.
Luka's going to have a birthday celebration tonight. Can't be understated.
Yeah, or tomorrow. Like either it's coming either tonight or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Probably tonight. So yeah, basically every factor will be going against them. But hey, that makes it all the more cool if they make it competitive.
That's right.
Or they steal it or something like that. And if they steal it, then everyone can start printing their NBA Finals tickets or putting their down payments or whatever you get to do. Start planning the parade routes because it's going to get wild if they win that game.
Anyway, this is just great. And the Sixers game will be fun because East Coast sports fans are just a different breed.
They are, they are
because
built
it's
different.
Cold and you have nothing to do except get angry. It's great. It's great. All right. Is there anything else we should talk about?
Man, I don't know.
Last night.
You want to talk more about last night?
I want to talk more about last night because the referee, the last 2-minute report is some Ministry of Truth horseshit, and the NBA is a fraudulent organization, and I am pissed as hell. Do not lie to my face. Say we fucked up. Don't give me 2 minutes of correct calls with the exception of 3 seconds in the key, which didn't matter.
Which no one noticed.
No one noticed on either team.
Why does the NBA even release these last
because Mark Cuban bullied them in the early 2000s, and this is a legacy of, and no one is going to believe this, particularly the younger people. NBA reffing, in my opinion, used to be worse because there was no accountability. Now we at least get lied to, which you're going to say that's worse. Like that's actually, it feels worse, but at least you now, like with the tape and stuff that we get, the one that really chapped my ass, and I tweeted about it, and somehow like Bob Sturm and Mark Cuban retweeted me, which was great for my mentions. But there's a, who was it? The center, Jared Allen is basically posting up Max. He's got his arm bar out, right? Maxi's kind of hooking the arm. A little bit of hook in the arm. So this could have honestly been a foul for either person. And Allen just like he loads a squat and shoves Maxey off. It's amazing. It's kind of an offensive line level play. And the last 2-minute report referred to it specifically as, I think, incidental contact.
Yeah, like they accidentally ran into each other.
There was nothing fucking incidental about it. Like just like, there's a ridiculous phrase, don't pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. I don't mind that you made a mistake, but don't lie to my face.
Yeah,
it was marginal call, marginal contact. Thank you, Islam. That was what it was. There was nothing marginal about that level of contact. Again, don't mind, but just say, maybe something should have been called here. They didn't call Josh Green for tackling Garland. And then, would you believe it or not, somebody pointed this out to me. I think his name was Matt online, pointed out to me that like actually falling to the ground is not traveling. It's not traveling in the NBA rulebook.
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know that one.
I didn't know that either.
You learn something new every day. What can I go on my I don't know if I'm gonna if I have energy to rant it. It won't take long, but the way you were pretty exasperated about that Jared Allen call, which you should have been, that was crazy. I felt like I was going crazy seeing the reactions to the Tim Hardaway Jr. Kyrie Irving inbounds mistake that right before Max Strus hit his second 3 in a row. Like I saw so many people, like, first off, it was a correct call. And I don't think anyone was, once people saw the replay, because I think the original broadcast angle in real time, it was hard to see Tim initially inbound the ball because I think he was hiding, I think some players were kind of covering him up from broadcast angle. And I think people just kind of saw the Kyrie part of it and thought that the ref kind of lost his mind. And then you see the replay and it's clear as day. Like Tim grabs the ball, goes to the baseline to inbound it, throws it into Kyrie who's in play. And then Kyrie isn't realizing what's going on and walks out of bounds thinking he's going to inbound it. It's an easy call. And I saw so many people that were like, that happens so many times every game. And they don't.
You know why that was, right?
Well,
you know why that happened. I do.
Why?
Because Mark Followill is basically on the internet saying that everybody's wrong. And when the lead Mavericks broadcaster is picking a fight like this, because Mark doesn't do stuff like this, it basically gives credibility to the argument. I'm sorry, he's not correct. Full stop. It's not Dirk stepping over the line, which is what people were talking about. It's not Dirk doing that, which is what everybody is remembering. It was he passed the ball to Kyrie Irving, who was inbounds with both feet. Kyrie walked out of bounds. I don't care what your intent is. You violated the rule.
Yeah.
The end.
That's not like, oh, we're not going to call carrying or traveling. That was like, everyone was like, this happens so many times a game. Please send me clips of that happening. Not like
there are
player.
Some amazing non-calls.
I understand. It was just like, I watch a lot of basketball. I felt like, am I being like gaslit here? Am I being like, what is going on? Because I definitely see players, kind of, and then kind of come back and then inbound the ball. But I don't see guys inbounding it like what Tim did to Kyrie and Kyrie walking out of bounds. That was crazy. That doesn't happen.
Does not
happen that often every game. I promise you guys.
Yeah. And there's all sorts of people that are mad about this. And I'm just like, we have this guy who writes for us, Matthew. The best part is Matthew's a literal police officer. So rule enforcement is kind of his thing, who gets he yells at us in the chat about different rule interpretations. And even when he came back and was like, yeah, I watched this. The ref had no choice.
Yeah.
This is it's the equivalent of I'm trying to think of something similar where it's like if Patrick Mahomes had thrown and then was like, but I didn't mean to throw it. I'm sorry, you threw it to the other team. What do you expect?
Yeah.
It's great.
And I understand the players being maybe frustrated because Kyrie thought he was going to be inbounding the ball, and I did see Kyrie talking about it after the game. But I don't know, that scenario the way that scenario played out does not happen multiple times.
The PJ non-call on the final basket was the one that killed me because he was fouled.
That was clear as day.
And they're sitting there like, well, it didn't affect the shot. And it's like, but it's a foul. So it's like you're reading this NBA stuff. And this is my own personal problem, but I've recently reread 1984. And all of this, when you see someone just lie in an official document, which is what the NBA did, I am accusing them of lying. It turns me into even more of a ridiculous sports conspiratorialist. There were so many fuck ups. Here's the real thing that I know is a fuck up was the Hoop Collective podcast. So it had Brian Windhorst, Tim McMahon, and Tim Bontemps. They're NBA partners, okay? ESPN is and so we talk about this a lot, but it's you don't see this level of scrutiny on the referees. They were like, what is going on here? This was a horrendously called game. They spent nearly 20 minutes talking about referees today. That does not happen. I don't want to act like the NBA is at this crisis point, but they have to get these guys to stop messing up like this. I'm sorry. There's going to be a playoff level kerfuffle with something LeBron's going to bitch about something and it's just going to blow up into this big thing. And all you have to do, guys, is I don't act like it's super easy, but you can't mess up these basics. That's all.
Yeah. And this crazy. This was the same crew that ref that Knicks Pistons game that ended with Sir Thompson getting, tackled at his legs for a no call at the end of the game, basically giving the Knicks a free win.
But at least those referees after the game said we made a mistake.
It's the same refs. I'm saying it was the same crew.
Was it really?
Yes. That's what I think so. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure it was the same crew of that game. So that's what I'm like, look, if you mess up like that, maybe you sit some game, sit that crew out. Hey, you're in ref timeout. You have to sit out. Yeah.
No, it really happens. The NFL kind of had this problem a couple of years ago. Do you remember? It was a couple of Packers
when
games.
the ref strike.
Yeah, there's just some weird stuff going on. Anyway, I hate to keep I'm not a refs guy. I don't like talking about the refs. It's boring. But this was just a bridge too far.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Okay, so I'm going to host a live show. We'll be back, or a second live show that you can come participate in. So hang out here for just a minute. We're going to let Josh go edit and throw some things up on Mavs Moneyball. We will have continued posts up about that. For those of you listening on the audio stream, if there are enough listeners for a Mavs party, I will throw it up as a secondary post in the feed. Last night we just had my man Brian, so I combined it all in one episode. So, if you guys want to hang out and come talk basketball with me, I'll post the link here in a second. Those of you listening on the podcast feed the next day, look for the post at some point on Thursday. Thanks so much for hanging out with us, and I want you guys to have a good rest of your week. We'll see you on Friday.